My name is Asia Marie Nauden. I am an artist and a painter. I dabble in different mediums, so acrylic, spray paint, and texture paint. Look at me go. I had been to an art museum, and there was just this one line, this one red line on a white canvas, and I was like, bro, this painting is selling for like $13K. It's just a line, like what is this? And one of the curators was like, no, that's more than just a line, like that's her story, that's her life. And as I'm reading the description, I'm like, wow, just one line can mean so much. And that's how I kind of took my art and was inspired to create abstract art. I do abstract art a lot just because I feel like it has no boundaries. I made sure through my art that there were no boundaries.
Let's start with your life.
So I grew up on the south side of Chicago on 115th and Pulaski. Growing up was hard for me. It was kind of like a rough childhood growing up. Our parents were around and they were very supportive, but they were having their own battles and struggles too. When I got to kindergarten, that's when we moved from the inner city to the south suburbs because my parents didn't think we were gonna make it. When I was in kindergarten, I entered my first art show and I won. As I started growing up and realized what my skills were, I just dove into them. I used to sell little drawings and paintings when I was like 10 or 12. But people were very shocked. I did sports my entire life, so I ran track and I did volleyball, I did basketball, soccer. They saw me as an athlete, not an artist. So I struggled with knowing how to be an artist and be an athlete all at the same time instead of just picking one or the other. So I took a lot of art classes, but I never felt comfortable in them because I felt I'm not an artist. And I kept denying I'm not an artist, I'm not a real one. Like I'm no Picasso or I'm no Van Gogh, you know. I never felt like all of my work was real until I kind of got to college. I made a piece for one of my roommates, her dad. He bought it for his birthday and I thought that was super cool. And something in me was like, no, you can do this. So my experience moving from Chicago to Minnesota was tough. I'd never thought in a million years this is where I would move. I ended up working in a hospital that, you know, it was nice at first, but I just knew that's not why I moved here. And I started to open up to people more, and here I am today, and it feels good now.
Oh, okay. Tell me about the painting behind you. What does that mean?
Hold on, I gotta look at it again. Okay. So that painting was kind of one of the first ones I did when I got here to Minnesota. And to me, it expressed my confusion of whether me really liking it here or me really hating it here. And with the colors that I chose, brown is, for now, one of my favorite colors. And I feel like it has become my staple in who I am and my own representation of myself. Me being a little brown girl. And I just really used my hands. I didn't use any paintbrushes for that. I used my hands because I really wanted it to be authentic. And with my hands, I was like, well, what story do I want to tell? I want to tell my story of how I started. And when you do look at it, it's like you can see a whole bunch of things. But if you look closely, you can see flowers, like where I did my thumbprints. You can see different images of however your eyes see. So to me, when people look at that painting, they see me. So this is one of my paintings. I call this one the Golden Child. So these are my handprints, and each one represents my past, my present, and my future. Asia's Corner. I made this one here in Minnesota. This is probably the most perfect representation of how I feel on the inside. And then there's another one of my paintings. I call it Smack Talk. Me and my sister made this one on our little sister date. This one I made in Chicago. I think this one is like one of my favorites. It's called Dancing Soul. And it's upside down.
Do you want to talk about your love for dancing at all?
Oh, sure, I'll take it a little bit. So, I was a little dancer back in Chicago. I found it as a passion though, like it really helped me express myself in a different way too. Like I learned a lot of new things, not even just like physically, but emotionally and spiritually. I felt like I got to express myself in a way where not a lot of people really see it as like appropriate. But it made me feel good as a woman. It really did. It made me feel like dancing is a part of who I am. To me, it was art. I felt like even though it may not be on a paintbrush or a canvas, it felt like a real art. It felt like this is something I can express myself with, and there's no rules. I know art has really opened me to a lot of avenues where it has allowed me to be comfortable in who I am. I never was confident or comfortable. I always felt like I had to be somebody else or I had to be like somebody else to feel accepted. So with art, you can do what you want. Like there is no rules. Like you can, if I want to splatter on the canvas, I can just boop, and that's it. Like I don't have to add anything else if I don't want to. And to me, art is fun. It's not hard. It's not hard as people make it seem. You know, you don't have to be anybody spectacular to create art. You could just be normal. My advice to people out there in the world, take the chance. You'll never know what happened. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it was never meant to be. So, yeah.
Postcards is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Additional support provided by Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies, Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farms, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota. On the web at shalomhillfarm.org. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com. A better future starts now. West Central Initiative empowers communities with resources, funding, and support for a thriving region. More at wcif.org.